Hello, this is Alert Day Trading. The purpose of this video and the videos I make is to journal my trades, notice any mistakes I'm making, focus on good behaviors, and if you can learn from any of my mistakes, any of my good behaviors, that's a bonus. And I just wanted to journal 2 trades I took today. I actually took multiple entries today, but I traded 2 stocks. So the first one I want to discuss, so I traded JFIN, but the first trade I took today was FMCI. And so what I look for when I'm looking for trades is I have a max chart, and I'm looking for stocks that are trading at their all-time highs. So there's very little to no resistance on the left over here. So that, for me, it tells me that you're not going to have many sellers in your way if you end up, in a good trend. And we can break it down to the weekly chart. You can still see no resistance levels here. This would have been a nice entry right here for swing trading on the weekly chart. And then here we have the daily chart, and you can see we're trading in a nice uptrend here. So just to see if we can, get maybe 50 cents to $1 move minimum. I thought there was potential, and my first entry today was using the 5-minute chart, and here you can see a high of 1640, and here you can see we had a push to the upper side, break above 16, and I originally was looking for a break above 16, but as we ended up with these lower candles, I ended up entering around the highs of this candle right here. Although, as you can see, we had trouble pushing above $16. You can see not too much volume entering into the stock, and it just didn't work out. I ended up stopping out. My original stop loss was down here when I entered the trade, but then I started to raise it above to these levels just to minimize my losses, because I figured, okay, we reached $16. If we can't break above and we end up making lower lows, then this ends up being a lower high right here. So we're trending down. And in hindsight, and in the trade too, I was wondering if this high right here was also a lower high from, well, it is a lower high, but at the same time, I try not to pay too much attention to pre-market highs, other than just maybe selling at some resistance. So if we do get a push higher, then I might sell at these highs in hopes for continuation. But I just don't see, with such low volume, and all we need is some good volume to break above these highs. So I was okay to enter the trade, even though we had this pre-market high. Okay, so that would be maybe some mistakes to focus on, is just kind of maybe using the pre-market high, and then this maybe being a lower high, so we're starting to trend down. But I've seen many times that we can push up higher, at least retesting these highs for possible continuation above that. So I felt comfortable taking the trade. The only mistake that I made, the other mistake I can think of, is that I tried to buy at the previous high. So I ended up buying over here 1590s when I could have bought at the 1580 mark, but that was because I also used the 10-minute chart, and you'll see the 10-minute chart. I ended up entering at the high of this candle, but I could have maybe had 2 entries, and I would have had a lower entry point, which would have lowered my losses on this trade. Not a big difference, but still, in the long run, if you make small mistakes like that, and they add up, then it becomes a big difference in the long run. But not a big deal in the short term as long as I correct that mistake. So anyway, that was my first trade. I took a loss on that, manageable loss. I followed my rules, so I was pleased with the trade, even though it was a losing trade. But then the next trade I took had a lot more excitement, just because the float is quite low on this one. 54 million shares. It's not super low. You can see on this one is 5 million shares, but still 54 million shares is pretty low in comparison to most stocks out there. And so when I was first looking at it, so here's the all-time chart, and pretty, not too bad. It's not too much resistance over here. You can see I drew these red lines here, so these big red lines are going to correspond to that. And if we let's look at the 1 minute chart. So right at the open we had this push up higher, but the pullback ended up being quite too deep for me to be interested in it. I think there was also a halt, so I think that probably just ended the trade for the morning, the early morning. And you can see low volume, and if we open back up to 3 minutes, same thing. And it's going to be, if we go, well, what's quite interesting is if you go now to larger time frames, you'll see possible entry right here. You can see we're consolidating near the EMA, and then if you entered around here with a stop loss, or maybe below, but it's so wide that the risk might be a little too much, but this would have been a possible entry. Maybe also over here. Of course, this is hindsight trading, so but you can still I guess you consider this a back test. That larger time frame would have painted a better picture. So if you were watching the stock, you could have possibly got in at a really low price, and you can see if you got in around $13, we went all the way up to $30 here. That's a $16 move almost, or $16.50 move. So when I first got into the trade, I was looking at the 1 minute time frame, and what I was looking for was here you can see we're pushing up higher. So this is when I actually started watching the stock again. So I was looking for the break above the high of day, which we got here. And we were also breaking above this red line, which corresponds to this red line. So that's when I got really interested. So here's the break. Now I waited for the first red candle. We got it. Here's the second red candle, and this is my entry right here with the stop loss right there. And you can see we almost reached my stop loss, but I stuck to it. I accepted the risk, and then we ended up getting a really nice push here. And I actually added to my position multiple times. So I ended up adding over here in the 3 minute time frame, and I added in the 5 minute time frame, and let's see if I did the 10 minute, and I did the 10 minute time frame. All these as I just saw potential as the time frame, the larger time frames were showing me my pattern. The 15 minute time frame, we did not get that red candle pullback. So my first entry was at 1930s, and we ended up getting to a high of $30, although it was really a high of $29.70. So that is about $10 move. So this is one of my best trades I've taken in a very long time. I would say this might be in my top 10 of best trades I've taken. So I'm very pleased with it. Again, I think we had really big volume here with a semi very low float, and it was just kind of, you had these big swings. We had about $2 to $3 swings, so a lot of the emotions of, should I stay in, should I get out, should I stay in, where should I take profits? So I was just following my rules in terms of if I can get to a whole dollar mark, just take some profits. So and you can see we didn't really make lower lows after this push. And now the only thing for me personally was I could kind of sense that we might be getting it into some kind of halt, just because we were pushing up so fast. Remember, these are 1 minute candles, so we went from $17 to $29.70. So that's $12 move. That's a 73% gain in, let's see, this is 7:49 in 8 minutes. So you could just sense it. So if we zoom out into a 5-minute chart, it's only 2 candles, that entire move. So the mistake for me would be not taking profits as we're entering into a halt. So what I was doing was raising my stop loss, every increment, because after I reach a certain point, I stop taking profits and I just raise my stop losses, because eventually I'm just going to completely exit my position. And when I could have just kept raising my stop loss, and I was happy to do so, but as we were entering into a halt, I probably should have just taken some more profits, because you can see as we got out of the halt, we ended up having we opened right here at $22, and my stop losses were, up here around $26, $27. So I ended up taking profits down here. I was taking profits all through this push, but my final position, the position where I just kind of stopped taking profits and just raised my stop loss, it never got hit up here. It ended up filling down here. So I still ended up making a nice profit, but I also did give away profits because of that. So the lesson for me would be to pay attention, especially when you're sensing a halt might be coming. And as you see the halt, really about to happen, just start taking some profits, because you don't know what's going to happen out of the halt. I think I was hoping that obviously we would get a big push to the upside, but I guess something to do going forward is to take some statistics on, after a halt, what is the statistic of, does it continue higher, or does it, have a big drop like this? Because I've seen many times where we'll be in a halt and then all of a sudden it's opening way up here, for example. And that's kind of what I was hoping for. So if I know that happens more times than not, then I'll feel more comfortable doing what I did today. But if I figure out that the halt, after a halt, we end up having a big loss right there, then maybe I'll be more inclined to take profits. But anyway, overall, I'm very pleased with this trade. I actually entered the trade again just because I was hoping for a push above this $30 mark. I ended up entering the trade. My last entry was 26.59, which would have been the break above this red candle. And you can see we went all the way up to $30 again, and I was taking profits there. I ended up exiting completely at $30 just because, you know, we tried multiple times to break above it. Wasn't happening, and I just put an order to re-entry if we did break above $30. So I guess I was hedging myself a little bit, so I would have ended up, it would have been as if I just continued the trade. But I didn't want to give up the profits from $26 to $30 just because I was hoping for a break above 30. So I ended up just taking profits and then putting in an order above $30 if we did break above it. And you can see we never did break above it, and we ended up pushing all the way down to $20, so it was a really good decision of mine. And it was kind of a win-win there, you know. You're taking profits at the same time. If it did push higher, you're just re-entering the trade with the same position, so you're just continuing your original trade minus some slippage. So I was okay to take that risk. So overall, this was definitely one of my best trades I've ever taken, probably in my top 10, just because you can see this move. My lowest entry point was 1937, and my highest exit point was 29.90. So from 1937 to 29.90, that's about a $10 move. So that's about 50% move. So yeah, definitely a great trade, and definitely I made back the losses I made earlier in the day, and I ended up with profits on the day. So following my rules, following my trade plan, definitely worked out. So I just want to remind you that the purpose of this video and the videos I make is to journal my trades, notice any mistakes I'm making, focus on good behaviors, and if you can learn from my mistakes, learn from my good behaviors, that's definitely a bonus. Let me know if you have any questions, and good luck.